I caused people to drop out of university due to a lie I told. I started university in September 2019, full of hope and excitement. Like many students, I imagined long days of learning, making friends, late-night coffee, and the occasional meme shared in our Facebook group. It felt like stepping into a new chapter of life, one I was ready for. I thought I knew how things worked, and I thought I knew the people around me. Everything felt normal. Until March 2020. COVID-19 hit, and suddenly our lives were turned upside down. We had to return home. Our classes moved online, exams changed format, and everything that had once been a structured, physical experience became digital, uncertain, and chaotic. The university announced that exams would now be open book. For some, this was a blessing. For others, it was an opportunity to bend or break the rules. Our course had a Facebook group chat, a place that had always been for support, reminders, and memes. But during exam season, it became something else entirely. Students began sharing exam questions as soon as they were released. Not after their own time window, not cautiously or quietly, but in real time, letting others write essays before their turn had even started. At first, I didn't notice much, but one student, a stickler for rules, raised a concern in the group chat. She pointed out that this was against university policy, that discussing exams while they were ongoing could be considered academic misconduct. A few others mocked her. They called her uptight, paranoid, or simply said she was ruining the fun. The group erupted with jokes, memes, and ridicule aimed directly at her. I remember feeling curious, detached, observing how quickly the situation escalated, how seriously no one seemed to care about following rules. I didn't comment. I didn't intervene. But something made me act. Without much thought, I went to the university's anonymous confession page on Facebook. It wasn't official. It wasn't even monitored in any real way. It was a place for people to vent, confess small secrets, or admit minor guilt. In a split second, I decided to post something I would later regret. I typed, "I reported the group chat for cheating during the exam. They're in big trouble and probably won't pass the year." And then I went to sleep thinking it was harmless, a joke, a random confession that would fade into the void. I had no idea how wrong I was. When I woke up, my phone was flooded. Hundreds of messages in the group chat. At first, I didn't understand. Then it hit me. The post had gone viral within our small group. Panic spread like wildfire. People were messaging each other, demanding explanations, blaming one another, and questioning every step they had taken during the exam. Some were literally calling the university, trying to defend themselves, unaware that no one there had been alerted to anything. And then reality sank in. Some of those students, those who had shared the questions, ended up incriminating themselves completely. They explained in their calls and emails exactly what they had done. They didn't know the university hadn't been alerted, so their own words became evidence. Weeks later, the university sent out official notices about academic misconduct. Students were reprimanded, some suspended, some failed. I later learned that a handful of students had dropped out entirely, unable to cope with the stress, the shame, or the administrative consequences. And I was the reason. It started as a joke, a moment of thoughtless impulsivity. But the consequences were real, devastating, life-altering. I felt frozen. Guilt weighed so heavily on me that I couldn't sleep for days. Every notification made my heart race. Every message, every email, every panic-stricken friend or classmate reminded me that what I had typed was not harmless. It had a ripple effect, and it was all my fault. I replayed the night over and over in my mind. The simple decision to post that lie, the casual way I dismissed the potential consequences. I imagined the panic as they read my words, the frantic phone calls, the late-night tears, the anxiety. I imagined some of them at home, staring at their screens, realizing they could fail because of something they thought they had control over. And worst of all, I imagined the ones who left university, heartbroken and defeated, some giving up dreams they had worked for years to pursue. I tried to apologize after. I tried to explain that I hadn't actually reported them, that it was a lie, that I didn't mean for anyone to be harmed. But the panic had already set in motion irreversible consequences. Emails were sent, warnings issued. Some students were too ashamed to reach out. Some were too angry. Some had already made the decision to quit. I felt like I had unleashed a storm that no one could stop. The guilt was suffocating. It was relentless. Every time I saw someone struggling with university stress, I imagined my lie lurking in the back of their mind. Every conversation I had about school, every anecdote about exams, I saw it colored by the panic I caused. And I realized something terrifying about human behavior. Panic spreads faster than reason. Fear spreads faster than truth, and a single false claim, no matter how small, can escalate into chaos that destroys lives. I thought about the stickler who had originally raised the concern. The one student who tried to uphold the rules. I realized that my lie had undermined them entirely. Instead of validation, they were mocked, ignored, and overshadowed by the chaos I started. People trusted the anonymous confession more than reason, more than fairness. Weeks turned into months, and I carried the burden silently. I couldn't tell anyone what I had done. Friends wouldn't have believed me. Teachers would have called me malicious. And worse, the students who suffered might never know the truth. Or worse, would never forgive me if they did. I kept thinking of the words I had typed. They're in big trouble and probably won't pass the year. Those words were innocent in my mind at 2 a.m. They were a joke in the anonymous void. But for others, they were a weapon. A sentence that ruined people's lives. And every time I replayed it, I could see the panic in their faces, the stress in their voices, the fear that made them make mistakes. Some dropped out, some quit. Some questioned themselves and their abilities forever. And I had caused it not by intention, but by thoughtless action, by deceit, by not thinking one step ahead. I still feel the weight of it. Years later, I think about those students. The ones who left university. The ones who struggled because of my single post. I feel their anxiety, their fear, their betrayal, and I hate myself for it. Because the truth is, it was never supposed to happen. It should never have escalated. It should have been a harmless joke, a fleeting thought. But it wasn't. And for the people who suffered, the joke never ended. I've learned a lot from it, about the power of words, about responsibility, about how quickly lives can unravel when you act without thinking. And I've carried that lesson like a scar. Every decision, every message, every action, I measure against that night, against the chaos I caused. I don't share this story lightly. I don't share it for attention. I share it because it's a reminder. A reminder that what seems small or insignificant can change lives forever. And sometimes the weight of that change is yours to bear, no matter how unintentionally it began. And sometimes I wonder if the students who left, the ones who suffered, will ever forgive me. Will they ever know that it started with a thoughtless lie, a single confession and nothing more? Or will I forever be the ghost behind their misfortune? I may never know. And that is the truth I live with every day.